The popular MMOs drama has continued to expand over the past few days since my previous video. If you aren't caught up on all the information so far, my previous video goes over most of it, and this video is going to cover up the last few strands before PopularMMOS' response comes, and when his response comes, I'll look at that and give my justification from there as to whether my conclusion has changed, or whether my conclusion remains the same. But before I begin, I would like to very clearly mention that everything I say throughout this video will be my own opinion, and because of that, it's very likely that I could get a lot of this wrong. It's not likely that I'm going to be 100% right on a situation that I wasn't involved in, with a lot of context cut, because it's very hard to know from just police statements and screenshots from tweets that are being very intentionally vague. So, again, opinions. Don't go trying to accuse Pat. I don't want to see anyone leaving comments like, he was my idol, I'm so disappointed in him. Because this is not confirmed. Everything is still allegations. Nothing has been sorted or resolved or proven. All we know is that there was a physical altercation in some sort of way that left Pat's girlfriend with bruises, and the police got involved, which ended up with Pat being arrested, which led to Pat being released on what we can presume to be paying bail. So today I intend to look over the now unclassified police report and give my opinion so far on what happened, what I believe to be the current situation, and where Pat lies in this whole situation, whether he lies in innocent, guilty, or anywhere else. With that being said, please note this will be a more grey situation, nothing like this is ever black and white, and these stories could change or be completely made up. Who knows at this point? It's incredibly hard to know in a situation so in-depth and very vague. With that being said though, before we begin, if you're new to the channel or haven't already for some reason, in which case I am personally deeply offended and I'm going to cry, please do leave a like and subscribe on the channel. If you haven't noticed, we just hit 25,000 subscribers as of recording this. I know that it will have been hit days ago when you see this, because I recorded these videos in advance by quite a few days now, because I'm going on holiday soon, poggers. So thank you for getting me to that goal. It means so much to me that you could support me that much. Genuinely, thank you. I'm aiming for 30k soon, and I want to get YouTube rank on Hypixel, so if you could subscribe, that'd be really cool. I'd appreciate all of that support. Thank you. I've been putting in so much work, so I appreciate all the support paying off from making this content. I appreciate every ounce of support. You can also turn on notifications on the channel. You should see the bell right next to the subscribe button whenever you click subscribe, and by pressing that bell, you get notified every time I upload. Though, to be completely honest, it's very inaccurate, so if you could check out one of my other social media platforms like Twitter, Discord, Instagram, you will get notified every time I upload a video in some sort of way. So if you're in my Discord server, you'll get an announcement ping. If you follow my Twitter, you'll have to turn on notifications there, but by doing so, you'll be notified every single time I post, which I think is very beneficial, and can mean that you can just get to know me, I can engage with you, we can all have a bit of fun, and you can get to see more of my life. I also have a Twitter thread that's going through this whole situation, and I'll be updating it with more info as this situation continues to progress. So just checking out that Twitter thread and follow my Twitter means that you'll be caught up with the whole situation as it continues before these videos even come out, because these videos are delayed by a few days, as I mentioned. So if you want the facts live as I get them, check out that Twitter. With that being said though, I'd appreciate if you could check out my Patreon, Ko-fi, and the join button down below the channel. The join button is next to the subscribe button on the left. If you click that, you can donate a monthly amount of your choosing to support the channel. That would be highly appreciated. It goes straight through YouTube. Very easy, very simple process, and it helps me a lot. Or you can check out Ko-fi and Patreon through links in the description. By checking out those platforms, you can donate. On Ko-fi, you can do single-time donations, and on Patreon, you can do monthly donations. By donating, you support the channel, you allow me to hire editors, so maybe I can make 2 videos a day, which would be nuts, but it would be very fun to do. And I'd appreciate all of that support. Your continued support means a lot. And with that being said, let's get right into it. And to start, let's go over some of Pat's new recent tweets since this whole situation became more public, and since the previous video. So, Pat's first tweet reads, "Since Eleni leaked my address, someone tried to put my house illegally on the market to sell it. Thanks Eleni, you're a great person." From what we can gather here, if Pat is telling the truth, is that since Eleni doxed him, which she did do to be fair, she shared the police report which had his private information on it, which while technically isn't her fault, she still did share his private information, though it was a public document, so there is kind of justification there. You can make excuses for it to make it seem more okay than it probably should be, but Eleni shared a document that had his private information, and now people have listed Pat's house illegally on the market, which is not a good thing. Whether Pat actually did commit the actions that he's being accused of or not, you shouldn't just harass the dude. Even if a physical altercation did happen, it doesn't justify committing other crimes. It doesn't make it okay to commit a crime in response to a criminal. It doesn't help anyone, and all it does is make more problems for everybody. You're literally just getting yourself physically involved in the situation, and likely gonna get yourself in some sort of legal trouble if Pat decides to pursue that to any extent, because there's gonna be some way to trace it back to you. The police aren't incapable of tracing this stuff, and I can't believe I have to say this. You shouldn't harass people, whether they're bad people or not. Two wrongs don't make a right. That's something that kids get taught from the age of what, like 4? How is that something we still have to explain to people? This isn't done by a child either. No child knows how to list a house illegally on the marketplace. This is done purposefully by some sort of adult, and isn't right to any extent. Pat then also followed up with a second tweet that says, I see Elaine changed her profile picture on YouTube to a mugshot. Guess she's getting ready early for all the slander and defamation of character. Now, from what I can tell, Pat is referencing the fact that Elaine has likely changed her YouTube profile picture to be a mugshot of Pat, which... I don't know, there's something so poetically awful about that. It kind of feels like Elaine has been waiting for this opportunity for quite a while, just to have one over on Pat and basically come out like this, acting with this kind of arrogance. It's kind of nuts though that she's changed her profile picture to be his mugshot. It seems like such a fuck you to him, and I don't know how I feel about it. Just seems like such a scummy way to like get one over on someone and be like, yeah, you see, I've beaten you. I've beaten you now because I've got something on you that I can hold against you. And I don't really like how Pat words this situation as slander, because as far as I can tell, he still got arrested, and from what else I can tell, is everything else is testification from other people. So, it's not really Elaine doing anything. She hasn't really slandered him in any way. At this situation anyway, at least. From what I can tell, she's only showing the facts that she's seen, and I don't know if she's faked any of the DMs, but I'm presuming that what she's shared are real screenshots, so from what I can tell at this moment, I don't think she's really slandered him at all. Feels like a very harsh way to put it, and a very disingenuous way to word it in a way that makes it seem like you're a lot more innocent than you are. Feels like Pat is immediately trying to push blame off himself to Elaine, and to make it seem less like he's had any actual bad behavior, and more like he's innocent on all claims, which kind of coincides with the police report that I'm now going to get into. Recently, the statements by Officer Andrazik were published publicly, with no more censorship or classified information on them, so that we can read the statements in full without any context being cut. The statement reads, I responded to 911 First Avenue N in reference to making contact with Elizabeth. I contacted Elizabeth and read her Miranda rights via JSO issued Miranda card. Post Miranda, Elizabeth stated that tonight she and her boyfriend Patrick were drinking at their residence. The two started to get intimate, and during their intercourse, Elizabeth told Patrick she wanted to stop. After telling Patrick to stop, Elizabeth stated that he got angry. It was said that Patrick was on top of Elizabeth on the floor and was picking her up and slamming her on the ground. Elizabeth stated that she bit and scratched Patrick to get away from him, then accidentally broke a lamp while running out of the front door. Elizabeth ran outside naked and got in her vehicle and drove to 911 First Avenue N. I observed a red mark and scratch on Elizabeth's forearm and abrasion of her knees. Rescue responded and bandaged the injuries. Based on the opposing stories and no independent witnesses, both subjects were placed under arrest for domestic battery and transported to the PDTF without incident. Both individuals refused to complete any domestic violence paperwork or provide a written statement or have their injuries photographed. Case cleared by arrest. What we can gather from this is that in some way, Patrick and Elizabeth seem to have some sort of implication with each other that quickly spiraled into a violent engagement and somehow led to injuries on Elizabeth's forearm and abrasion of her knees. We can also gather from this that either Patrick or Elizabeth is protecting for the other, based on the fact that neither of them were interested in doing paperwork or having statements or their injuries photographed. though it's unclear who's protecting who. If we're to go by Pat's tweets where he says that he wants to protect people and doesn't want to cause anyone harm, I'd presume that it would be Patrick protecting Elizabeth, but it could possibly be both ways. It's hard to tell who's the guilty one here, or who's lying, but let's get to Patrick's statement. Officer M. Walters' statement reads, "Upon arrival, I made contact with Patrick, who was standing outside of his residence at 5240 Commissioners Drive. Patrick stated he and his girlfriend, Elizabeth Heranek, had been in an intimate relationship for approximately 3 months and have resided together in the home for a few weeks. Tonight, Patrick stated that the two have been drinking and got into an argument, and she began to hit him and break things in the home. Patrick stated Elizabeth then got into her vehicle and left and was unsure where she went. Patrick stated Elizabeth is bipolar and acts this way often, however he never calls the police. I read Patrick his Miranda rights via card. Post Miranda, Patrick stated he and his girlfriend were having intercourse and she decided that she no longer wanted to participate. He stated at that point she hit him and bit him. He stated he never touched her or hit her, even out of self-defense. Patrick invited me into his residence to observe the damage. I observed a broken lamp on the ground in the living room and multiple chess pieces all over the floor. I observed a fresh scratch on Patrick's left shoulder, a scrape on his right shoulder, a bite mark on his left forearm, and a bite mark on his bicep." From that statement, we can gather that Patrick was also in some way physically harmed during this engagement, which can only be presumed to be by Elizabeth, as it would be very hard for Patrick to fake bite marks on his own body. So, I'd guess that Elizabeth did, during this situation, have some sort of violent engagement with Patrick. Obviously, both statements state that there is violence, however, Elizabeth's statement doesn't clarify everything and leaves it very vague. Patrick's statement seems to go in a little bit more detail and seems to clarify exactly what Elizabeth did to him. However, Patrick states that he never touched her or hit her even out of self-defense. The problem is that Elizabeth did have wounds according to the police officer that responded. Given that fact, it's either that Patrick physically abused her in this engagement as well, or that was done by herself during the escape from the house, which is definitely possible. Given the fact that Patrick states that she is bipolar, it could be possible that she was trying to cover up for her case and instead decided to harm herself. Her wounds could definitely be done by herself, unlike Patrick's. And her story does seem the most extreme out of the two, however it's still very hard to know, as the situation is just two opposing statements that will never be proved, as there's no actual evidence to show what happened unless either of them admit that they are lying about the other. So that's kind of where this situation's left, and I don't want to go further in depth on my own opinion about it because I don't believe that it's my right to speak on something like this, especially because it's so vague that it's almost impossible to know the truth here. I don't want to be spreading any mistruths, and again, everything I've stated thus far was my own opinion. But with that being said, if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I make videos every single day on various different topics, and as such, if you'd be willing to support me by subscribing to the channel to help me get to my next subscriber goal of 30,000 subscribers, that would be incredibly cool and highly appreciated. As I said, these videos take a lot of work and I make them daily, so if you could support me, I'd support you as well by bringing you more content to entertain you every single day, or inform you every single day at 6 PM GMT, 1 PM EST. With that being said, I also have other social media linked in the description, like my Discord, Twitter, and Instagram. Those platforms allow you to get notifications if YouTube's notifications don't work, and also allow you to get to see more of me and engage with me in a more personalized way, as it's incredibly hard to reply to comments. I get way too many to respond to them in any meaningful way, which really sucks. I wish that I could continue to reply to them, but there's so many comments now that I genuinely don't have the time of my day. I'm getting over 50,000 views a day right now, which is impossible to react to. But also, that in mind, I have a Patreon, Ko-fi, and join button down below. If you want to support me on those platforms as well by donating, that would be incredibly appreciated. That money goes straight back into the content. It doesn't go into my pocket at all. I don't pocket much out of YouTube, to be completely honest. It mainly gets invested back into the content. So if you want to support me, that would be really cool and may allow me to make 2 videos a day, which would be insane, but it's something I want to strive towards because it seems like an incredible goal to achieve, and it would be so sick to be able to pull that off. With that in mind though, thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, once again, feel free to support it by subscribing, leaving a like, leaving a comment to make sure that it gets seen by more people, and continue to spread it so that more people get informed in this situation and are kept up to date with what's going on and the newest information. Thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and peace.
Says you wanna rock with it like me. I'm a stylish guy. Spend a little guap with it. We can catch a fly. Said she wanna rock when it like me.